thank you for joining us today for this special episode of Talking Politics and Religion Without Killing Each Other. You might have noticed different music playing than normal if you're a regular listener of this program. It's a beautiful rendition of Oseh Shalom, a Jewish prayer for peace. We were graciously granted permission to use this by the wonderful people at HaZamir, the International Jewish Teen Choir. There's more information about this organization in our show notes. I'm your host, Corey Nathan, and for this edition of our program, I'm so lucky to be joined by my cousin, Dr. Erica Tanne Harris, and her friend, Dr. Naomi Yudanin. We each share, as you'll hear, about some of our experiences, each of us having family and loved ones in Israel since the war broke out there. More importantly, we talk about a fundraiser that our families are supporting. So I'm more grateful than ever to have this forum to talk about the hard things and to talk about these tough issues in ways that engender tikkun olam, which we've talked about on this show previously, and many folks are familiar with the concept. And this is even as we're witnessing events that seem so counter to that ideal. So instead of my usual intro, let's get to my conversation with Erica and Naomi. I am joined today by my cousin, Dr. Erica Tanne Harris, and by Dr. Naomi Yudanin. Thank you both, Naomi, Erica, for joining me today. How are you both holding up?
Well, it's been a really difficult week plus now, and doing okay, but it's hard to resume life as normal, I think, when things are so difficult in Israel right now.
Naomi?
Yeah, I think what Erica said kind of reflects very closely what I feel as well. It's hard to put into words how this week has felt, especially being the mother of two very young children in New York City where there's a lot of protests going on. You know, I, on one hand, fear for their safety. On the other hand, I'm very defiant about maintaining our current lifestyle and their pride in being Jewish.
Yeah.
And find that that's very important.
You know, you bring up a really important point. I just want to contextualize really quick. So the Tannes and Yudanins and the Nathans all have something in common. We all have family ties to Ukraine. A lot of our family got here in 1921, and some others of our family got here in the early to mid 80s. Naomi as well has even closer relations, as well as our cousins who we stay close with in Israel. And then Naomi, you as well. So I'll let you fill in the blank there.
So we have very close ties to Israel. Right now, the fundraiser I'm running is on behalf of two soldiers that are reservists who I've known since, I want to say before they were born. I remember when their dad met their mom. Their dad is my dad's very best friend in the whole world. They immigrated together at the same time from Ukraine. His dad to Israel, my dad to New York City. And, you know, they've been close ever since. And we've spent every summer there. I've worked there for many years. I mean, I basically grew up as these kids grew up, and it's really heartbreaking to see what's happening there right now because this is as much my family as anybody else I would call my family.
So, Naomi, you said you're based in New York City.
Yes.
What have you been experiencing there? I mean, we see some news clips and hear some, see some headlines. What have you been experiencing there?
Yeah, well, you know, there's been a lot of protests against what Israel is now doing in retaliation, which I find to be heartbreaking, not just because a country should be able, a sovereign country, I should add, should be able to defend itself as needed, but also because, the levels of anti-Semitism have already been creeping up, and I'm sure all of you have experienced this as well. But in New York, it's now become very palpable. So like on Friday, for example, World Jihad Day or whatever it was that was declared, our school had to send out a notice about it and tell people that it was okay to leave their kids at home. And it just kind of feels like they don't get to have this like, why should my kid be made aware of anything that's happening? The kid is 3 years old, right? Like, it was his birthday on Friday, and all of a sudden half his class was missing because some jihadists declared that it was World Jihad Day. Like, they don't get to have that. That's not fair.
It's totally not fair. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, that I'm sure you've experienced similar things in Livingston, Erica.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Friday and the lead up to Friday was honestly terrifying. I have 2 little boys, and they both go to school at our local JCC, or Jewish Community Center. And I decided not to send them on Friday because I was afraid of, it just put me at ease. I mean, I thought, hopefully everything is fine. Everything will be fine. And it was fine, but it was very, very scary. And we did not send our boys to school that day because there was this outcry of hate and a call for violence, right? I mean, there's these people that are arguing, oh, we're not anti-Semitic, we're anti-Zionist. The two are very much
it feels very anti-Semitic to me. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a language expert, but it feels very, very much so to me.
Yes, and trying to go down to those semantics gets really difficult and complicated because they are so deeply intertwined. Israel is our homeland. It is, it is a sovereign nation. There is just so much history there. And it's been very difficult. I've been, I guess, more outspoken than I usually am on social media with what's going on right now. And I've been surprised by the responses I've got from people. Just the equivocations, but the poor Palestinians. And I feel for people in Gaza who have had to, have had to leave, especially in the north. But the thing is, if Israel does not respond, and Hamas knew that Israel would have to respond, what does that mean for the state of Israel in the future? It means that there is a message coming out that Israel can continue to be attacked and nothing will happen, and the goal of many of the surrounding Arab nations of wiping Israel off the map will be something that they become more and more emboldened to do.
It reminds me again of something Golda Meir said. I think it was after the Yom Kippur War, or maybe it was after the 1967 war, and she was talking about the adversaries of that war. She said, if they lay down their arms, there will be peace. And she said, if we lay down our arms, there will be no Israel.
That's right.
And it's unfortunate because, to your point, our hearts, and I was at Shul on Saturday, and we prayed for our Palestinian neighbors. Our cousins grew up with Palestinian neighbors. There's this story about building a sewage system and upgrading a sewage system, together, Israelis and Palestinians together. So this is not about Palestinians or the right to live freely. It is about protecting our right to exist. Because it's not just about our right to exist and Israel's right to exist. It's about Jews' right to exist. And terrorists, Hamas, in this case, would rather have it not be so. In fact, in our town, there was a gathering of Jewish people and people who support Israel at our city hall. And there were these vehicles that were driving around in the parking lot with people screaming, from the river to the sea and down with Israel and down with the Jews in Santa Clarita, freaking California, So
unbelievable.
It is,
but it is believable.
But it is.
It is believable. Look at where we are. I mean, how many Jews are there in New York City? I want to say there's more Jews here than there are in Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the New York metropolitan area, it's probably close to the same numbers as in Israel. And there is so much hatred being spewed right now. I mean, it's unbelievable after this happened. I mean, I don't usually wear this necklace. This is a Star of David. And I put it on, and it's a crazy thing that felt like an act of defiance, but it did. Because it's just because anti-Semitism, Naomi, as you pointed out, has been creeping up over the last several years. And I've had to second guess myself. Do I wear this in public? Am I going to get something going to happen? Am I putting myself in danger by wearing this?
I specifically got out my blue and white shirt today, as close to the colors as I could get. But something else that Naomi were talking about before you hopped on, Erica, is that there is this narrative that sounds erudite but is based on false premises, and that is this colonialist, anti-colonialist language, this framework. And we know the stories of when our family first got to America, but also when our family got to Israel. Naomi, perhaps you can. Were we colonialists? Were we the inheritors of great empire that was coming to dominate? I
want to contextualize this sentiment though, because it is really coming from one place and one place only, and that place is academia. Really, where you hear it starting is all of the college campuses, all of the big name universities, some of which I'm ashamed to say I also graduated from. And these big name universities who have profited so much off of the work of Jews are now starting these diatribes against, Israel and the right to exist for Israel, and how it's an apartheid state, and how we are the oppressors and they are the victims. And it's this whole victim mentality that came out of basically nowhere. By the way, universities, I may mention, that didn't allow Jews for a very long time, and didn't allow women for a very long time. And only very recently, in very recent memory, have even started letting people that look a lot like us into their halls, and yet have benefited from the work of our own peers and peers before us, that have failed to mention that those were all people of Jewish descent, if not most. So I do think it's important to understand where that's coming from. It's not just random lay people that are starting these currents of thought. It's people who you would assume are very well educated and very successful, and have quite a large platform.
And just out of curiosity, so you're both PhD, your doctorate. You earned your doctorates. Erica, what did you earn your doctorate in?
In clinical psychology.
Oh wow,
so,
that could come in really handy right about now.
Yes, and it's actually very interesting. There is a huge within the communities that I'm part of that are clinical psychologists and other therapists. There's a huge campaign right now to try to organize. There's several databases that have been organized that I'm part of, and hopefully that stuff will be put into motion soon, where we'll be providing either low fee or pro bono mental health care to people who are survivors of what's been going on over there. It's a little tricky with licensing if doing virtual to Israel, but I will most likely be able to provide services to Israelis that are in the United States, as well as people who have a family member who made Aliyah or is volunteering for the IDF. The families of those people that need care because of the trauma that is being inflicted by this war. So it's been a really interesting process to see this from a mental health perspective.
Wow.
And a terrifying one as well.
Naomi, what are your studies in?
I am a computational biologist, and I did my PhD at Columbia, the university where recently, just this past week, an Israeli kid was beat up.
Wow.
And they had to shut the campus. So not exactly super proud of that right now.
Okay. Now we're here to talk about something that you put together, Naomi, that's really, it hits close to home because we have cousins, the cousins that are closest to my age, Jonathan, Dina, and Laura. Laura passed away. She's only 3 months older than me. But all three of my contemporaries have kids that have been called up. And Naomi, you also have close family. Could you tell us a little bit about your friends and who this charitable, who we're trying to raise some funds for, what we're trying to raise some funds for?
Yeah, definitely. So the fundraiser that I started is on behalf of two of my very, very close friends, Evelyn and Jonathan Seltzer. They are two IDF reservists that have currently been called to serve in the fight against Hamas. They are the kids of my dad's best friend, who immigrated to Israel around the same time that my father immigrated here. I've known them forever and ever and ever. They are wonderful people. But more importantly, they are trying to help their own units get the necessary equipment that they need before they all ship off. Because as you can understand, once you get mobilized, you can't really go around shopping and buying stuff that you need. And unfortunately, the IDF has had to call up an insane number of reservists. I mean, 360,000 reservists is about 3 times the general standing army size that the IDF can supply. And so what ended up happening is that, there were these massive delays in just getting basic equipment like, warm socks, phone chargers, coats, sweaters, so other warm clothing, that kind of stuff. And you think, like, here these kids are going back, they've already served, they've already done their time, they're living their lives. Many of them already have kids of their own. And families of their own. And I know in New York City, there's a ton of people that flew back to serve as reservists because they were called on, and they're all going very willingly. They're usually paying for these flights out of pocket. They're definitely paying for all of their basic needs out of pocket if they can get it. And so I wanted to start a fundraiser to kind of help their units get the things that they need and get them quickly. And the thing is, there's a lot of money being donated right now to big organizations, and absolutely really important cause to keep donating to. I have donated to many of these big name charities myself. But these little fundraisers, like the one that I have started, the one I've seen many of them that go directly to the soldiers or directly to the families of victims of the attack last week, they're a little bit more effective right now in the short term because the money gets to them right away. Right. And by the time a big charity organization can push the money through all of the paperwork and red tape that they need to go through, sometimes it's a little bit late and people have already been mobilized and people have already deployed. And so they aren't able to quite as effectively get them smaller things, right? Things that we would consider maybe not essential, but definitely very nice to have, like warm socks.
It's interesting that you contextualize it that way because I think about, my wife is actually stationed in San Francisco, which is about a five and a half hour drive from here, 1 hour flight. And even if I'm going overnight to visit her, I'm checking to make sure I have enough underwear and socks and toothbrush. And meanwhile, there's literally a Target like 5 minutes from her apartment. Yeah. There's no Target on the border of Gaza. So.
There's no Target. No, that's exactly right. And the things that the things that they're buying with this money, I mean, they include, tampons, right? Hygiene products. These are like basics you just don't think about. But like, where are you going to get tampons in the middle of Gaza? You know what I mean? Like, no, I don't know. And it's not going to happen. People don't have enough underwear. People don't have enough like sunglasses. I think there was like a request for gloves, I believe was one of them. Definitely sunglasses, hats. Underwear, like all of that stuff is just things that you don't think about, but they're packing, if you can imagine, they're packing for many, many, many days away without like their, weekly 25-cent laundromat across the street. Yeah. And so these things that you think you have, you definitely don't have enough of.
Right. And Naomi, you made a really important point the other day when we were speaking that with what's happening right now, the chaos of this war, there's, there's supplies in Israel, but a lot of the soldiers that want to get it need to pay in cash. So it's not like you can put it on credit and get everything you need, which is also what makes this fundraiser so important, that the soldiers are able to get access to the funds to then be able to purchase the items they need to keep them safe and warm and taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, before we wind this down, we're definitely going to share the link here as well as in the show notes. Erica, why don't you tell us how you and Naomi know each other?
Naomi and I met on the kindergarten playground growing up. She's been my friend since, I don't have many memories of, of course, I have memories before that age, but the majority of my memories include Naomi. She's my best friend. She's my family.
Yeah, so all of this, I'm getting chills just thinking about it, but all of this hits very, very close to home for all of us. I can't imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 kids, all of whom are at the age that they would be called up right now, 18,
That's
20,
right.
and 22. And I can't imagine how Dina and Jonathan and Laura's husband is processing all of this. So this hits very, very much close to home. The link...
It's hard to fathom.
Yeah, it's hard to fathom. So the link is spot.fund/equipment for IDF reserves. That's spot.fund/equipment for IDF reserves. And again, it'll be in our show notes. Anything before we sign off, Erica, that you want to say, and then Naomi?
Sure. I'm just so glad that Naomi put this fundraising effort together. It's so important. Just the component that it is going directly to the reservists, and it will help, any funds, no matter how small the donation is, makes a difference. And it will be, it's incredibly important to help these soldiers get what they need so they're taken care of as they go into a very dangerous and uncertain situation.
Naomi?
Yeah, thank you for anything you can spare, even if it's just a share, everything helps. But more importantly, even than that, please be proud. Tell your friends where you stand. Wear your Judaism not just on your sleeve, but in your heart and in the words coming out of your mouth. And,
Yes.
Don't shy away from making your opinion known.
Terrific.
I would like to just add one more thing here.
Yeah.
So yes, wear your Judaism proudly. Talk about what's happening openly. Share your understanding of the situation and the reality of what's happening, because there is so much misinformation out there. But also for people who are not Jewish, please, 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 I'll say it again, please support your fellow Jewish friends. Show your support. Let them know that you care. Let them know that you are on their side, because it feels very isolating and alone for many people in the Jewish community who don't have that awareness that people outside of the Jewish community are our allies. So please be vocal. You don't have to just be Jewish to be vocal about this issue.
Well said. Well said. Thanks again for joining us today. Please consider contributing to this worthy cause. The URL again is spot.fund/equipment for IDF reserves. Again, that's spot.fund/equipment for IDF reserves, and that URL will be in the show notes. And I would also ask if you would stay tuned in here to this program as we'll continue discussing what's happening in Israel, as well as other pertinent issues, but always with a sense of, again, tikkun olam, or trying to heal what's wrong in the world. Even if it's simply talking politics and religion without killing each other. And we'll keep doing what we're doing the best we can, right? As usual, I'll ask you to go talk some politics and religion with gentleness and respect, and have a great week. And now, please enjoy the full version of HaZamir International's beautiful performance of Oseh Shalom.
Shalom, Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael.